In this video I will show you how to change the strings on your Floyd Rose guitar. Let's get into it. Before I start, this video was a nightmare to make. Changing the strings on your Floyd Rose guitar is just a hell of a job to do. So many obstacles you encounter. I will try to show you how it goes if everything goes well. So just the strings, no fancy bridge tunings and all of that. That's something for, I leave it up to myself if I have like half a day time or a repair shop. So I will just show you how to change the strings on your Floyd Rose guitar. The first thing you got to do is grab your guitar and get rid of your old strings. You can do it by untwisting these, or I just do it by cutting off all of the strings. Beware that your Floyd Rose bridge might collapse into your guitar itself. So cut them off slowly. Afterwards, you have to unscrew these with some Allen wrenches. Grab the right size and just untwist them. Beware of things shooting back. And afterwards you can simply pull out your guitar strings. I zoomed in a little bit to show this. And what I always do is grab some board, just like how I have here. Moment, zoom out a little bit. Grab some kind of wooden board that's quite sturdy and just lift up your tremolo system and place it underneath. So now it rests onto the bridge itself. Make sure it's good deeply underneath to support the bridge and not on some sensitive parts. And now you can work on removing these. What I like to do is grab your wrench, find the right size and unscrew these parts. You know, you can lift it up a bit. Sorry, you need the right size. So I was thinking, if you have a wrench, if you have an Allen wrench set, finding the right size is some puzzling. Yeah, you can simply unscrew them. I will do one for an example. You know, just lift it up a bit, unscrew it. Be careful. That's why I'm making this video, because it's a hassle to. Yeah, don't do it until the little block itself shifts, as you can see, and then you can pull out your string. Show you one more for an example. Say the low E. As you can see, that goes a little easier and you can pull out the string. Now that your guitar is without strings, use this as an opportunity to clean it, get rid of all the dust, the gunk, everything that makes the guitar dirty. You know, you can even unscrew these ones as well to give access to underneath. I will do that off camera, because otherwise the video will be like all of my other tutorials, half an hour long. Make sure you put them in gracefully without hurting the screw itself. You know, get rid of the dust of everything. And also use a small little abrasive thing to, you know, kind of clean it all up. It's a little bit wet, but it should wipe it off immediately. You know, do this for the entire fretboard. You know, grab some toothbrush and go in between the frets to clean it all up. Make sure it's not too wet. It's a bit too wet, but simply dry it off before it hurts the wood itself. Just do this until it's clean. After it's cleaned, I remove the wood board. You know, you can just rest it carefully here. Don't drop it simply. Keep the tremolo on, but move to the side. Use your trusty guitar fretboard liquid, of course. It's very old, but works well. And just bring on some shine. So now, it's a bit shiny, you know. I always like to wipe down with one stroke the rest of the oil, the liquid, because otherwise, you know, the thread itself might be stained, you know, around the thread especially. Make some kind of hook shape with your fingers and go around the thread, just like this. Yuck! All of the skin cells create some nice algae, fungi. Good, we got rid of it. Now it's time to clean the Floyd Rose bridge itself. My English isn't all too great these days. And to do that, simply grab some glove, you know, as well, and go a bit. That's how I like to do it. You can also unscrew it itself, but I usually don't recommend this, especially if you're a beginner or don't want to deal with springs, because the spring it's quite powerful. Now it's time for the real part, restringing it. Of course, trusty Ernie Ball 10 gauge strings. You know, open the pack, just like that. And what order should you start in? It doesn't matter. I always like to put on the big string first. I don't know why, it's just preference. Whoa! All of your guitar strings automatically come with this ring, which is normal, but for the Floyd Rose guitar you don't need this. So you can just grab some pliers and simply cut it off. Just like this. So I've zoomed in quite a bit, so we can continue with the string itself. I will show you two strings on camera, but it's all the same procedure. So again, place the board underneath so you have some support, and because it's already opened up here, you can simply put the string in. Put it in and then grab your Allen wrench and turn it until it's tight. With the low strings like the E, A and the D, it doesn't need to be all too tight, because the string itself has a texture that allows it to grip more into the metal, as you can see. And then when it doesn't come off like this, it should be fine. I like to tighten it a little bit more, but not too much, because things might be damaged around here. So now that it's tight, now I'll just also show you it with the higher strings, which is of course the E string. Just untie it a little bit. I will cut off this part later. But again, because it's so thin, has a smooth surface, it doesn't grip onto the saddle very well. So just poke it in, and you want to really tighten it. So, you know, almost until you break the screw, I like to say, but of course you don't want to break the screw. Make sure it keeps in. It's kind of difficult, as you can see. Just poke it in and turn it until it's in. Might feel tight now, but make sure it's really tight, because if you put tension on it, once you tune it, they might slip off, and that's not really good for the string. You know, just tighten it. You see how much the wrench itself is bending right now. And if you really can't turn it anymore, you don't want to force it all the way, then, you know, then it's good. I will do the others off camera, but it's the same procedure. You can just rewind the video for the low strings and for the high strings. So I put all of them on. Make sure that, let me zoom in a bit more. Make sure that it's definitely here in the groove itself and not outside of it, so that when you pull them all down, they align with the groove. I've adjusted my camera to show you the headstock. And this is actually a bit harder than a normal guitar string. Because first of all, you need to get underneath here, thread it through, as you can see, just like this. I will show you it again with the two E strings. And then just thread it through like this. Now where's that stupid little thingy? That's here. And then just turn it until it's tight. Make sure it's the right direction. Watch out for this. I always like to do, I'll show you again, I always like to just bend it like this. I'm not really the type of person to look at the aesthetics of this. I just make sure it's tight. But this is still the easy part. The hard part is the thing I even have difficulties with at times. It took me a while to figure it out by myself. Yes. Make sure it's just a bit under tension. You don't want to tune it immediately. And then just I'll show you it with another string. I actually used the G string for this because it's a little bit sturdier. And I don't want to sacrifice my light string. You have to go find the right part to thread it through. Make sure it's all good. Underneath. And yeah, just going to the right tuner. You know, make sure you leave it a little bit more slack because of course it has a smooth texture. Now turn a little bit by hand. And then afterwards just rotate it. Put it under tension, you know. Just bend it up like I always do. And just keep it under this tension. Make sure you guide the string to the thing. Oh, man. So it gets onto it really nicely. As you can see, it's quite difficult. It's not the handiest thing I'm doing, but I'm just not an aesthetics guy whatsoever. I just want my string to, I just want it to be on there, you know? Some people are like, oh, it's not aesthetic, it's not aesthetic. I'm like, screw you. I just want my string to be on there. And I'm not really in the mood at all times. You can call me a hard rocker or whatever, or just lazy. But for me it's just the main objective, get the string onto there so I can play guitar. See, my camera battery is almost dead. Hope it doesn't go out, but yeah, I'm done. You know, the E and the G does need to be under tension. But these are just two examples. Do the rest for all the other strings. Yeah, make sure you thread it in here good. After you've restringed everything, as you can see, everything restringed, just cut off these things. Make sure you cut it as close to the bass as possible, because they might sting you when you're trying to tune them. I always say it in every of my long tutorials. The thing you're trying to film is so close to the camera itself, gets out of view a lot. But as you can see, this looks great. The locking nut I'll show you later. But first, let me change the camera setup. Now we come to the difficult part of this video. Because the Floyd Rose bridge itself is being held by the piece of wood, we cannot let it go immediately. You know, if I let go of the tension right now, this will be a big mistake. Because the strings might snap. So, what you got to do is make sure you tune them in this position to, yeah, let me say almost E standard. Let me say half a step. I will show you right now. Moment, please. Okay. I always use my trusty vocal pitch monitor app, you know, to tune. So what I just like to do is just grab a guitar pick so it's a little bit louder. And tune it to, let me just say, about, yeah, half a step down. Right now we at D standard. As you can see on the screen, right now we have a D sharp note. And for the A string we go to a G sharp. I'll put on screen right here all the notes. And you need to tune all the strings to those corresponding notes. Okay, right now I have tuned them to almost E standard. So the note in between D sharp and E. And I did it with all other strings, you know. Of course they go out of tune if you have new strings. But let's try removing them once again. Make sure it doesn't drop immediately. Because yeah, then that's just harming. Carefully. And don't snap. Maybe some strings are tuned too high. You can have a note higher, that's not really a problem. As you can see, the bridge isn't level. It might straighten itself out in a few days time, but there's another trick you can do to make sure the bridge itself is level. And then you have to unscrew the back panel. Before we actually do it, I like to just place the board underneath and get some tension off all of the strings. Then we can just flip it over, make sure it doesn't undo itself, you know, get the tremolo out of the way. I always leave it in, just for the sake of leaving it in. And then just, hang on, undo the screws. Then take off your back panel. It's stuck in here quite good. But just pry it off. And now you see the springs. I'm gonna grab my camera. You see these screws? These screws right here? They are the one that determine how tightly the springs are holding the bridge. Because the bridge is tilted upwards, we need to make sure the screws here are tightened towards, you know, the springs are tightened towards the guitar body. So let me just secure the camera back. So as you can see, the screws right here, tune them towards. It's quite a firm hold. But tune them a few times. Little bit too tight is a bit better than too loose, because if the bridge itself is tilted downwards, the string tension in time will actually cause it to rise a bit, not the other way around. So yes, just tighten it, and afterwards put the whole thing back on. So turn the guitar around, still left this open. Actually, you don't need a back panel on itself, it's just something to keep the springs protected from all kinds of things. And then just tune your strings. I will do just tune your strings, and then we'll see what kind of level it gets. As you can see, it's still not level, so we got to tighten these a little bit more. Okay, I've tuned the strings once again after I turned these a bit more tight. Guitar is now in tune, and guess what? The bridge itself is level. Now it's time to check your string action, because as you can see, this is quite high. Well, how do we adjust this? With these screws. So yeah, what we got to do is simply lower it. Your strings will go into more tension if you lower it, so I recommend taking a little bit of the tension off. especially in the lower strings. And then just turn it downwards to make sure your action goes down. So to change the, well, see, this has gone loose, but you just solder it back. To actually change the intonation, you need to adjust these screws as I told you. What you gotta do, if the string action on the lower strings is a bit too high, tighten this one. And if the string action is too high on the lower strings, you can tighten this one. But yeah, as you can see, it needs to be a little bit lower, so I can just quickly adjust this. No. To get it a bit lower. Not too low, because if you are doing your whammy things, it might touch it. It looks good to go. But before we actually go there, let me talk about these things. These are the locking nuts. It prevents the strings from sliding here if you're using the whammy bar. I usually don't do it because I rarely use this. But what you gotta do is just turn them on tightly if you've tuned your guitar, which is the case. And then just tighten them to lock the strings. And if you then got to tune your guitar, you use these things. If you turn them tighter, you will push the string down lower. You know, I will show you with this one. If you turn them down, you will actually push the string in its base and increase the tone, so make it to make it higher. And if you screw it loose, you will actually decrease the note, so it will make the string looser. But right now it looks good to go. Of course, check your intonation before you actually do something. That's very important, you know, because right now it looks well tuned. But I just use the, looks good? Not good? I'll use the B string for an example. What you got to do is unscrew this tiny nut right here and then adjust the saddle itself. You know, you got to adjust it to make sure it's right. If the note is too high, you have to lengthen the string and shift the saddle towards. And if the note is too low, you gotta shorten the string and move it towards the pickups. Now that the strings are on it, tuned well, everything is good, let's test this guitar out. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like and check out my YouTube channel for more awesome content. I hope you have found some use in this video. Have a good one. Bye.